What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Double A Hef here with another doozy. Actually, I'm not sure if I'd call this one a doozy. It's actually rather unfortunate what took place in this video, but obviously that's much more reason why I need to break it down and discuss it for you brothers out there. Because unfortunately, in the society that we live in, and obviously, I'm mainly speaking to the brothers that live in the United States. I do know that people listen abroad, but I'm mainly speaking to the people that live in the United States because they would understand what I'm talking about. But the people that live in the society, right, or we in the society, we see the world through the lens of what mainstream media will like us to see it. So obviously, it's all narrative driven. Because why? Narrative sells. That's why stories sell. If you don't believe me, look at Disney. Disney is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Why? Because they sell stories. I'm not just talking about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. No, I'm talking about also ESPN. They sell stories too every goddamn day, storylines. Right? That's just the way the society goes. So unless you're willing to, take a look outside of those stories, read something else, become more informed about things, then that's just the way that you're going to view the world. And then obviously you'll make assessments and judgments off that view. And I'm not going to sit here and say that that's inherently, I'm not going to sit here and say like you're a bad person if you do that, because if you don't know, you don't know. If you're ignorant to it, you just are, ignorant to it. But obviously we want to break away from that. But that's a whole story for a whole other day that I can go into. Back to this. I made videos in the past before talking about mental health. I know I've done a 2-part series on Kyrie Irving. I know I did one video, at least one on Umar. But, and I say this because, look, you don't hear about it. You don't hear about mental health when it comes to the quote-unquote black community. And I'll tell you a few reasons why. It's not a good narrative for them to put out unless it's a strong black celebrity. And then, yeah, they'll talk about, he has mental health issues or whatever, like a DeMar DeRozan or something like that. But no. We have to understand something. What that is like a shaming ritual that they put you through. As a man, you're really not supposed to. You're supposed to take it on the chin, as the saying goes, and you have to roll with it, with life, and when things get tough and stuff like that. You have to have tough skin, right? But all too often nowadays, people don't have that, and then they have depression or whatever. No. I'm talking about mental health issues in terms of like someone's on the spectrum, maybe someone has Asperger's, or something to that nature. So there's actually something wrong with them, whether you can tell or not. In my family, I have a few people in my family actually who are on the autism spectrum. My best friend, his sister is on the spectrum as well. All right, so I've been pretty up close and personal with it. I understand it. Do I understand it more than anyone out there? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not an expert on the subject. Obviously I'm not a doctor. But again, living with it and seeing it firsthand, I understand, the issues that come with it. And for instance, you have someone that's on the spectrum, they're your child or whatever the case may be, or your niece or nephew. You're not always going to be there. If things go the way, quote unquote, most people expect them to go, which is older people die first, then yes, you're not always going to be there, to help that person and to guide that person. So it's up to you to make sure that they know how to live in this society, even with their what you might call, quote unquote, quirks or irregular gestations. And that is, it's tough. It's very, very tough, and it's scary to think about sometimes, what the future may bring, because obviously I know such and such. I know that he reacts to certain things certain ways, and I don't, overdo it. But obviously, other people won't know, and it might come off as very aggressive, things like that. Okay, so with that being the case, I know in the black community, quote unquote black community, it's not really talked about. When there's an issue, they don't really talk about it. Oh, ain't nothing wrong with him. Nah, he's just fine. And don't get me wrong, that's a double-edged sword, because I get it. You don't want to handicap the child, because a lot of times when you handicap the child, then that's exactly what they'll be, handicapped. But if you empower them and tell them that they have no issues and they are fine, whatever the case may be, then obviously that's not fully the case, and there could be issues that arise from that too. All I'm saying is we have to be able to do it in moderation. Okay, we have to be able to take them to the doctor. All right, take them to the doctor and get them seen. Have them be diagnosed. And obviously this is something that you would want Umar on someone like him, because obviously you don't want to misdiagnosis, because as Umar speaks about very often, far too often they like to misdiagnose young quote unquote black boys and girls. So we must not allow that to happen, but we still must seek a diagnosis, period. We can't just let these things go on. All right, now I'm gonna play this video. It's pretty short, and obviously I'm gonna chime in.
The Tampa man who intentionally ran over and killed a father out on a bike ride with his kids 3 years ago in New Tampa was found not guilty by reason of insanity. Mikeese Morse is now headed to a mental health facility for treatment instead of going to prison. Now, at a hearing today, the victim's wife had some strong words for the court, as Fox 13's Gloria Gomez shows us what happened.
Yeah, devil, this is all your fault. Yeah, devil, this is all your fault. All your fault because you descended to earth.
Judge Mark Kaiser made it official.
He sound like one of them NOI niggas, right? That's how they be sounding, white devil, all shit.
At this point, the court has entered the finding of not guilty by reason of insanity.
Doctors representing the state and the defense agreed. Mikeese Morse did not know right from wrong at the time of the crime.
He did not know or appreciate the nature of his actions and his consequences, nor did he appreciate the wrongfulness of his behavior.
Back in the summer of 2018, Morse is accused of intentionally running over a father and his two children bike riding in Tampa. The father, Pedro Arguberry, was killed. His children survived, but their mother says the scars are still there.
There are no number of apologies or prayers that will ever convince me that the guy who did this is innocent. More than just a life was taken from us that day.
Mikeese Morse spoke too.
I'll say this. It's very rare that I hear about people being judged innocent due to, insanity. So I'm going to just go and assume that there's actually something wrong with his brother. And that is why I was saying everything I was saying before. A lot of times, parents and loved ones, even, close friends, they know, but they won't say anything because they don't want to offend the parent, maybe they don't want to offend the person, but these people, they need help. And if you can't help them, you can't just say, all right, well, I can't help them and leave it as is. No, you got to, find someone that can help them. Because it's very unfortunate that this brother took the life of that dude and almost the life of the dude's kids. Those are kids that he almost killed as well. And now his life is messed up. I mean, obviously he's going to be in a mental hospital, hopefully getting treatment that he needs. But oftentimes, again, we hear about stories about these insane asylums. So, who the hell knows how that's going to actually turn out? Or are they just going to keep him, pilled up all day? I don't know. There needs to be great reform when it comes to those institutions. Yes, but we have to take one step at a time. I believe the first step is actually being able to identify and say, hey, something's actually wrong. Like that's just unacceptable. Sometimes the way this person reacts, whatever the case may be, and it's uncontrollable. Uncontrollable, and we have no idea how he's going to react or she's going to react in certain situations. That's not good. That's not good, because we can't have this person ruining their life and others people's lives. Now those kids, have to grow up without a dad, you know. And could it have been prevented? I'm sure it could have been prevented. And again, I don't know him or his family, so I'm not sitting here saying like, oh yeah, no, the signs were telltale, they were everywhere, and they just neglected it. No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is, from my own experiences, obviously anecdotal, I can say that I know that it's sometimes difficult for people to have conversations with parents about their children, you know, having quote-unquote issues. All right, but we have to be able to look past that. You know, especially, you know, everyone always talking about the black community, all this shit. How the fuck your community, and you can't even go and talk to another parent about their child? Obviously not things that, you know, is none of your goddamn business or about the child. But I mean, like, that, you know, hey, that person is a member of the community. Is he not, or is she not? Then yes, we need to have these discussions and have a plan of action that we're gonna, you know, follow, you know, to make sure that this person's all right. Because obviously we look out for our own. But that's how you know this ain't a goddamn community.
I really regret not getting the help that I needed before this happened. I'm sincerely sorry that I caused you this pain.
But Mikeis's mother reminding the court her son did try to get help, even showing up to the police station weeks before the crash. He was Baker acted, but released without the proper...
See, and that's a step, right? That's a step. He went to the police station. I don't know what the hell he said when he went there, whatever the case may be. I don't really know. But look, at the mother, if you see this, your son, look, I'm telling you, she has to know something's wrong with this dude. She's got to, right? If you know and you see this, you, like, when he goes to the police station and he comes back, again, you can't just say, oh, all right, well, you know, moving on. No. Like, there's hospitals, there's literally, you can check yourself into a mental hospital. You can do that. Literally, the person listening to this video right now, you can go check yourself in to a goddamn hospital if you felt like you need it. If you felt like you were depressed, or you felt like you might, you know, hurt yourself or hurt someone near, close to you, or just anyone in general, yeah, you can go to a hospital. So, you know, maybe they didn't know about that. I don't know. And if that's the case, that's very unfortunate. And that's another reason why this video needs to be made. It needs to be heard. You can't, there are avenues out there that we must begin to utilize, especially if we want to call ourselves a community. You know, we just have to. We can't have things like this happen. It's very unfortunate, again, for him and his family and the other people's family and society at large.
Treatment. Mikeis's father says blame systemic racism.
See, now this is the bullshit right here. See, we almost made it out the video. We got 20 seconds left, and then they just had to inject the systemic racism, and this nigga looking like Casey from Casey and JoJo, that fucking all my life video. Right? Nigga got the old man suit. I mean, he is an old man, but damn, nigga. Oh, blame systemic racism. No, systemic racism isn't to blame for this. I just went over everything for the most part, and racism's not a part of it. Racism's not a part of that. You know, look, I'll let him say what he has to say to back up his allegation, but then I'll come back.
Son was Tom Brady's son.
I'll rewind.
Profile.
Without the proper treatment. Mikeis's father says blame systemic racism.
If my son was Tom Brady's son, a high-profile white guy, he would have never been dumped on the streets.
Weeks later.
All right, well, if your son was Tom Brady's son or some other high-profile white guy, he wouldn't be dumped on the streets. Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. What if your son was Jay-Z's son? Huh? What if he was Nas's son, LeBron James's son, or a prominent black doctor son? You know, this is my point with this black and white shit. Don't get me wrong. Are there issues and occurrences where it's relevant? Yes. And I don't really necessarily mean the black and white thing. I mean just what you consider race. Yes. Is that relevant sometimes? Yes. Yes. And when it is relevant, we need to fucking discuss it. That way we can find solutions. But in this instance here, no, this shit is not relevant at all. Because again, what if your son was Martin Lawrence's son? Why didn't you say that? because obviously if he was, then he wouldn't be in the same position. But dude, hold on, I'm rewinding because there's something that he said that's very, very enlightening.
Blame systemic racism.
If my son was Tom Brady's son or a high-profile white guy, he would have never been dumped on the streets.
Weeks later, that
Okay, he would never be dumped on the streets. Who dumped your son on the streets? Who? Because last time I checked, your is a word that we use to denote possession. Like yours. That's yours. He is your son. Your possession, right? You're the overseer. You brought him in this world, right? Your responsibility. So who the hell dumped him on the streets? At some point, you have to take accountability and responsibility. Because maybe someone like physically dumped him on the streets and said like, get out of here, you know, and then your son was roaming the goddamn streets. Okay, what if that happened, right? It's still up to you to get your son off the fucking streets. Right? You living in a home, right? Are you living in the streets? Are you living in the streets? Because unless you're living in the streets, then there's no reason for your son to be in the street without you taking accountability for it. Now, if you just manned up and said, yeah, my son was out there, but you know what? I told him he got to get the shit together. He's not coming into my house, you know, with that nonsense, acting a fool, threatening me. That, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, I got to live with that now. Because I did that, you know, and maybe I should have did something else. My son killed a man, and, you know, I partially feel like I am to blame. Because if I didn't put him out there, maybe he wouldn't have did that, or whatever the case may be, right? But no, that's not what this guy's saying. He's talking about I blame systemic racism. Brother, please, no. Just chill the fuck out. Sit the fuck down with that nonsense, man. Again, it's not relevant right now. That is totally irrelevant, dude. Race is not even a part of this. That's another issue with the quote-unquote black community. Always trying to inject racism into every goddamn thing. Nah, man. It doesn't exist here. Alright? Again, this is very unfortunate. But all parties involved have to look in the mirror and say, hey, what can I have done? Again, maybe they don't know that they could have checked him into a goddamn hospital. Maybe that's the case, right? And if it is, it's very unfortunate. Again, that's why this video is being made, you know? So please like, share, subscribe to this channel, share the video, all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. But yeah, you know, let me play the rest of this, because that's pretty much it.
decision would leave two families broken. Gloria Gomez, Fox 13 News.
Morse will now be placed in custody and care of the Department of Children and Families for treatment.
And that's pretty much
how that
it
goes.
now. Well,
That is what's
what the hell's going on now?
happening, and I didn't read it in a
Kelly?
textbook.
Don't know. Well, all right, but anyway, that's it, y'all. So look, it's something that we need to discuss. We need to take seriously, and we need to better understand it. Now, whenever anyone has a bout with, like, you know, your life is rough and shit like that, does that mean you fucking depressed or got depression? No. That means you need to man the fuck up, take control of your responsibilities, man, and be a man. You know, I'm talking about the real issues. Like, this person is clinically, something's wrong with him. You know, obviously things also like Down syndrome, stuff like that. You know, like, hey, there's clearly an issue here. That's who I'm referring to in this video. Again, y'all brothers out there that, you know, your girlfriend dumped you, now you're fucking suicidal, get a motherfucking grip. Alright? You ain't depressed, and you don't need no goddamn antidepressants. You know, stop being a bitch. But anyway, that's it, y'all. Take care. One.